Salvete omnes. Let's learn a little bit about indirect questions, grammar topic in chapter 39. I wonder if you know about these. What is that? Well, I just asked a direct question. I had a interrogative word. I have a question mark at the end. Interrogative sentences are one of the four types of sentences. You remember declarative, imperative, interrogative, and exclamatory. We're always looking for either a question word, like what, where, who, when, how, etc., or a different order of words. Is she listening? So I pulled the helping verb out and put it at the front of the sentence. And we're looking for a question mark at the end. So we're using punctuation. Many of our question words in English begin with WH, who, what, when, where, why, etc. But in Latin, those words begin with QU. In fact, these two bases are related far, far back in time. So we're either looking for a QU word, or we're looking for this little enclitic ne, which is added at the end of the first word in a Latin sentence. Or we might see the other interrogative word num, which is usually expecting a negative answer. Or we might see other interrogative adverbs or words that are not beginning with QU. Words like cur, which probably originally was QU also, or ubi. And we may see the interrogative adjective, which is identical to the relative pronoun. Quai puella adest? What girl is present? Qui puer vicit? What boy won? So let's examine the formula for an indirect question. We will be looking for a question word in Latin. We're going to look for a verb in any tense of the subjunctive. How many tenses are there? 4. And we will not expect to see a question mark. You're saying we have learned 3 tenses of the subjunctive, but there are 4. Let's review the 3 that we've learned. Present subjunctive, remember, is the root plus a new vowel, and any of your mnemonic sentences will serve to remember the vowels E, first conjugation, EA, second, A, third, IA for 3IO and fourth conjugation, plus personal endings, active and passive. Imperfect subjunctive, my favorite, is just the present active infinitive, also known as the second principal part or the second part of the dictionary entry, plus the personal endings, active and passive. Let's just pause for a minute. What are those personal endings again? M, S, T, mus, tis, unt for the active, R, ris, tour, mur, mini, entur for the passive. The pluperfect subjunctive, perfect stem plus issa plus the personal endings again for the active. In the passive, however, we're looking for the PPP plus as a separate word. So this is a 2-word tense form. The imperfect subjunctive of sum, which is essem, esses, esset, essemus, essetis, essent. So in this chapter we are learning the 4th tense of the subjunctive, the perfect subjunctive. And you may be happy to learn that in the active it is almost identical to the future perfect active, with the exception that the first person singular ending, instead of being ero, is erim. So perfect stem plus the endings erim, eris, erit erimus, eritus, erint. In the passive, once again, it's a two-word form. The PPP plus the present subjunctive of sum. Sim, si, sit, simus, situs, sit. And here are 4 sample sentences that show you all 4 tenses of the subjunctive. Magistra discipulos rogat cur, question word, sero, verb in the subjunctive, no question mark. Magistra discipulos rogat cur, sero, ad venerint. Do you recognize the tense? This is the new perfect subjunctive. Magistra discipulos rogavit cur sero advenirent. Which tense is this? It's my favorite, because if I take the ending off, I'm left with the second principal part, or the present active infinitive. Magistra discipulos rogavit cur sero adveniscent. There's that ISSE that identifies the pluperfect subjunctive. To translate the first sentence only, the teacher asks the students why they are arriving late. And here's a very wonderful grammatical term for us to learn, the active paraphrastic. Paraphrastic is a wonderful word that comes into English from Greek. Peri has the same meaning as the Latin circum, and the phrastic has the same meaning as the Latin locutus. So really we are speaking or having spoken around. It's a roundabout way of expressing something. Because there is no future subjunctive, you can't use a form of the subjunctive to indicate the futureness in an indirect question, but you can use the future participle along with a form of the verb sum in the subjunctive. Maximus magistram rogat quando, question word, se dimissura sit. Maximus asks the teacher when she is going to dismiss him. To summarize, well, when you see a subjunctive verb in a Latin sentence, you need to figure out why the verb is in the subjunctive. We've seen hortatory, jussive, purpose clauses, indirect commands, and now indirect questions. Can you figure out which construction I've omitted? Cum circumstantial clause. I missed that one. But we'll just add it in. So, cum circumstantial clauses. And repeat the formula for an indirect question. We're looking for a question word, a subjunctive verb in any tense, and no question mark. So we're not going to see a question mark. Valete omnes.